What's up? The ghost is a paradox. So, here's some complex Derrida shit for you to ponder. So, in his book, he's the post-structuralist philosopher, of course, who I've talked about many times before, and he and Foucault disagreed a lot, and they wrote about different subjects and had different writing styles, but they were similarly very complex. And this paragraph that I'm about to talk about is basically one in which he talks about the spirit, the ghost, the body, and how that relates to what he sees as the cultural remnants of Marxism that still remain in modern society, modern Western society. Not that this is a good or a bad thing. He's not making any moral claim, he's making a descriptive one, contrary to what dumbasses like James Lindsay and Jordan Peterson say. But he's using this as a metaphor, and then he gets into Shakespeare and death, and he ties all these things together. But in just this paragraph here, like all he like basically just getting into the how he distinguishes between the spirit, the ghost, and the body is complex enough. And I think it's really interesting, and it sounds somewhat theological, which is why I'm more interested in religion than I used to be. Not because I'm religion, but theology is kind of like a branch of philosophy. So, anyway, so you don't even need to think about this in relation to the overall metaphor because this is complicated enough. But anyway, so the ghost is a paradox, as he says. So the ghost is not. Well, he uses the term specter in the book, but I'm going to use the term ghost because it's a more easy word for people to understand. Basically, he's just saying, in a very complex way, as Derrida does, that the ghost is a paradox. The ghost the body, and the spirit are different, but they're hard. It's hard to identify, especially the differences between the spirit and the ghost. And so, basically, it's a paradox because they're not the same thing, and it's hard to identify how they're different, but in a way, it's hard to identify how they're similar. It depends on how you define it, right? Because people can have so many different definitions of these terms, and they can be very subtle differences as well, of course. But so basically, the also the 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 body. Well, you could say the he's saying that the ghost is somewhere between the body and the spirit. So it's not the body and it's not the spirit, but it is when you add the. Oh, yeah, yeah. He said when the spirit becomes the ghost, the body disappears. So the spirit, like the ghost, like I said, is something somewhere in between the spirit and the body. So that's why, like it's always it's kind of like water. That's a good metaphor. He's kind of saying that like like you could say the spirit, the ghost, and the body are all like different states of water, like liquid, a solid, and a gas, let's say. And so it's like the same kind of thing, but in different forms. So a spirit can incarnate itself as uh, as a spirit in the form of a ghost, and then if the body appears, then then the spirit disappears, and we have the ghost. But if well, wait, no. If you have, see, I'm confusing myself even. If you have the ghost, then that means that the ghost disappears, and you just have the clear separation between the spirit and the body, and vice versa. So anyway, as he does, Derrida gets really fucking complex, abstract, obtuse, and verbose as he does. You can see it's hard to even explain what he's talking about, which is why it's understandable that people get confused by a lot of his writing. But anyway, the spirit, the ghost, and the body are all the same type of thing, but they're different things. I'm not talking about the Holy Trinity in terms of Christianity here. He's just meaning them as metaphors, and you could talk about that in terms of any religion. And he's using this as a brilliant metaphor for culture, which is so complex that it's not even worth getting into. But anyway, the ghost is a paradox. The ghost, the spirit, and the body are all different things, but also simultaneously all the same thing. All right, so that's some fucking confusing Derrida for you. And all right, Derrida's confusing, but also awesome.